Well, hello and welcome back, everyone. I'm Bruce Bro with the National Foundation for Danish America, and along with the Danish Pioneer newspaper, we're happy to have you again. Alice, our producer, is in Beaumont, Texas. I'm in Phoenix, Arizona. Linda is in Chicago, and Benedikte is at her summer house on the Limfjord in Denmark. And it is springtime in Denmark. What a lovely time of year. Today we have a wonderful program as we have a discussion with the renowned paper cut artist, Karin Vejle. We have a very informative interview that Benedikte did with Karin last Thursday at the Paper Cut Museum in Blokhus, Denmark. So thank you for joining us today. There are a couple special programs I want to tell you about. So the coming next 2 Tuesdays, March 30th and April 6th, we have a program along with the Scan Museum, and we will first be featuring the artists Marie and P.S. Croyer, and the new Croyer exhibit that is in Paris we'll be talking about along with a representative from the Scan Museum. That will be next week, and then the following week on April 6th, we will have a program about Anna and Michael Anker, the artists, and maybe we'll talk about their daughter, who was also a very fantastic artist, Helga. That will be on April 6th. I want to tell you and invite you to another event that's happening tomorrow that will be on Zoom also, March 24th. So we have a virtual panel discussion about the Danish literary masterpiece that's recently been translated into English, the Copenhagen Trilogy by Tove Ditlevsen. The discussion will be led by Åsa Bolju of Portland, Oregon. Now, you're not required to read the book beforehand, but probably after the program, you'll be very excited to read the books. That will be tomorrow, March 24th. And that will be at noon Central Time, 10 o'clock in the morning Pacific Time. And you can register on the front page of our website. And if you have any trouble at all finding the registration, please email me and I'll help you with that. So, okay, let's turn it over to Linda Stephenson with more about our program today.
Thank you, Bruce. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, that's wonderful. So welcome everyone around the country and around the world. We're so happy to have so many people joining us. And Bruce now tells me we also have people from Germany and the UK joining us. So we have visitors from the USA, Denmark, Germany, UK, Norway, Canada, Australia, US Virgin Islands, and more. We hope you have enjoyed the past weeks with our photo tours of Denmark. And today we have a new program featuring the Danish paper cut artist Karin Vejle, The Art of Immersion. Bruce informs me that we now have approximately 500 people registered for these special webinar programs from Denmark, and over 1,300 people have watched the past recordings. Thank you to everyone for your interest and support. My name is Linda Stephenson, and I'm Secretary of the National Foundation for Danish America and editor of the Danish Pioneer newspaper. Special thanks to Bruce, the NFDA, the Danish Pioneer, and Benedikte for presenting today's program. I wanted to give you a few quick instructions. Please note that these sessions are recorded, and the recordings will be made available shortly after each presentation at www.danishamerica.org. These programs are Zoom webinars, so you will only see pictures of the panelists. During the presentation, if you have any questions or comments for Benedikte, please type them in the Q&A section or the chat section throughout the program, and I will collect them and read them to Benedikte at the end, time permitting. If you have any technical difficulties, please use the raised hand button. Under view options, you can click on the side-by-side speaker view to get a better speaker view of Benedikte if you wish. Finally, thank you for joining us today. Please connect with us at danishamerica.org to find our social media buttons, Facebook, Instagram, our e-news, and information about the Danish Pioneer newspaper. Now on to the show, and welcome to Benedikte for another interesting program direct from Denmark. Welcome, Benedikte.
Thank you so much. I chose this castle because it is, for me, a part of, I think that is so beautiful exactly for this tour today. And you can see it is Fordybelsens Kunst, the art of immersion. And then I chose to just say Vejle, because Vejle really want just to use her name Bit and not Karin. She only used that for official things. So she really liked to have Vejle. When Bit grew up and was a teenager, she lived very close by this castle, and that is Kokkedal. You saw it earlier on one of my shows. Up at Brost. It is very close to Brost. And when I chose this castle, Bit said, "Oh my God, Benedikte, I have been there so many times. I just love it." So that's why that is the front page for a day, a show where we are going in to see what I feel is so amazing, and it is so Danish, and it is so beautiful. So we will go on and see what we have for you today. Here is this beautiful lady, Vejle, and Bit use chisels and not brush. The painter is doing the brush, but she can just do everything with her chisel. A little tiny chisel. And I think this picture is incredible. It is really, Fordybelsen, the immersion, the art of immersion by Bit. It is so, you can see how she just grow into her art. It is, there we have one of the beautiful, wonderful pieces, and we will hear so much about that too. But that is, and you can see how big, and people hear about paper cut. Yeah, that is a little winter gig. That is a gig. It is just a little Easter letter or a little star for Christmas. No, not in Vejle's world. It is a complete wall. It is amazing. Here we have like a family tree. You have an amazing tree with so many things in this little tree. There is human, there is ladies, there is birds, there is boys, there is a crow. You will hear much more about all that. It's all here in one single piece. And there we see how Bit created this beautiful piece. She worked on the music. She let the music go on and on in her life, in her day, from she wake up and listen to, and in this case, it is Champagnegaloppen. It is Lundby, the Danish composer, Champagnegaloppen. It is what we use for New Year's, wonderful music. It's the champagne bubbles is just rolling out. And that gave her the inspiration. And then the Muselmalet, the Royal Copenhagen Muselmalet, you see this border, gorgeous border, and she is inspired of that doubled blonde. The border was inspired by Royal Copenhagen's the blue flute lace pattern. Isn't that fantastic that she can do that with a chisel? And here we see the crow. Crown. Crown is a very, we hate the crown. They sit there over, they are so noisy. But she, in every single piece of what she is doing, she have a fairy tale. It is a story. She tells a wonderful story about everything in this piece. And here we just zoom in on a little part, and that's the crow. And she, in her fairy tale, tells that the crow was not really nice to. The crow did not work with her. So she told the crow, "If I promise you that I will put gold on your feather, will you then sit still so I can cut you?" And he did. So in one of her pieces, there is gold on the crow's feather. that is on that one. That's the one that's placed up in Seattle. And Vejle did that for years ago. And that is the crow with the gold leaf. Det er bladguld, bladder leaf, altså gold bladder. So det er bladguld. And you see how pretty everything, even there's a car, there's one car, there are 2, 3 cars, there's birds, 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 and so much more in this story. And now we come to something else. Kim Larsen. Kim Larsen he passed away for few years ago. He was a singer, and he wrote the song, Fik du se det du ville? Fik du hørt din melodi? Altså, did you see what you want to see when you were here? Did you hear the melody you want to hear when you were here? A beautiful song, and it was the inspiration for Vejle to this cutting, to remember us, remember to live now and do it now, not later, it's now. And then we can't show Vejle's fantastic art without Hans Christian Andersen. But H.C. Andersen was the one everyone in Denmark know about, that he did. Even he was a boy and late in his life, a man. And he was sitting with Sissel too and did so many beautiful paper cuttings. And that is one of Hans Christian Andersen, that is this year. And at Vejle's gorgeous museum in Blokhus, and you have to come to Denmark, and we have to go up, you have to see it. There she have in a montre with safe alarm system, one of the original cuttings of Hans Christian Andersen too. And this is one of them also here you see this year. And that is again Hans Christian Andersen's wonderful paper cut that he could do that. And here he is in Blokhus. For Blokhus have more. They have the Museum for Paper Cut Art, and they have a sculpture park, and they have a gorgeous garden. You will see it all today. But this is Hans Christian Andersen in the sculpture park in Blokhus. And here we have the Vintergækken, Gækkebrevet. The Gækkebrev we sent around Easter, like now, started in 1600 in Denmark. And it was not anything about Easter. It was a love letter. It was a flit letter. It flirtebrev. So a boy that found a nice girl, he sent her a beautiful cutting and with little Vintergæks into the little snowballs. And said, you have to find out who I am, ... So that is a kind of, and then first in 1740, we know the first gækkebrev, the first real gækkebrev. And gæk, you driver gæk med mig. What does that mean? You are kidding me. Du driller mig. You tease me. That is actually what this means, gække. And there's another one. Og så ser vi how Vejle at the museum in Blokhus. Let the light go to how big her cuttings is. It is between 2 layers of glass. It is hanging from the wall, from the loft and down. And then the light behind it gives both the wonderful floor, but also the wall behind, because the light is right. So that is the twittering in the Royal Copenhagen tree. Yeah, and that's again by Lundby, so I was talking about. And here we see, and I think that the chairs, the wild chairs, is like paper cut too. And there she is. And that is the big work she did for many years ago. Shostakovich Piano Trio number 1, Opus 8. And Bit was asked to do it to a big festival. She was the artist at the 10th anniversary in 2008 at the Winter Chamber Music Festival in Norway. And she worked with that. And she said, I always work too. And draw inspiration from music. Hun arbejder med musikken, og hun får inspirationen. And this is an amazing piece where she had for years she worked with the music, and then she cut the whole opus, trio number 1, opus 8. And even a dress, a lady dress in paper, designed a dress for a lady in paper. And there we see the little Sissel, tiny Sissel. That's the church where Bit goes to, that's the Hune Kirke, and they are doing a lot of work together, church and paper artist Bit Vejle. See the heart and the dough, and it could be a wonderful love letter, this one. And that's how she worked. We will see that soon in a little movie, how she is working at her, cut them and then paint them and so. And the lilac. And she get the inspiration also from the coast, the lights at the coast, the sandy beaches, the Marhal. And Blokhus have so much more. You have to go to Blokhus. This is a brand new, beautiful Strand Hotel. And Blokhus is very, very nice. And you can see, isn't that nice? And Pete was so happy when she saw my picture. She said, "Oh, Benedikte, that is so nice that you have chosen highlights of Blokhus to put that in, because they all need each other. The hotels need guests, the sculpture park needs guests, Bit needs guests, so they can all come together in a beautiful bouquet and see what Blokhus and Hune have to show us." See the new hotel. And there you have a very immortal smørrebrød, the herring, the kartoffelmad, the potatoes, smørrebrød, and then the egg and some egg og rejer, eggs and shrimp. So Danish. And the sculpture park in Blokhus, summer and winter, they have all kinds of sculptures. And here we see Bit Vejle is doing her beautiful art with sisal and paper. But there is one that had made it in sand. So you can see there's so many ways to express your feelings. And that is the new Blokhus, big hotels, big beautiful beaches. And salt. You will remember salt from Læsø, and you will remember that I have shown you the Blokhus salt before and another thing. But here you see how that is laying ready to be sold. And then there is Futten restaurant, very, very well-known restaurant. And there we have solnedgang over Blokhus. And the beach. Yeah, and from the sculpture park and the flowers and everything what they have there. This is, and I will see this if Alice is ready, that will be so fine soon. Here you see the park, the sculpture park for Christmas, so people can even go. They don't need to go to Tivoli and see light in the park. They could go to Blokhus to see beautiful lights and see that. That is like to be in Tivoli. And here you was just up at the Jammerbugten in Blokhus, and you find this. So that is what we will see now, and then we will go over to a little film, a little movie about Bit, how she work. It is called Bit in Action.
Og jeg prøver da at lægge en værdi og en mening bag hvert eneste klip. Jeg vil sige nogle ting. Og det, som er vigtigt, det er de her, det er på bagsiden. Det skal altså vendes den andre vej.
Yes, that was Beat in action. And there you saw how it looks where she worked. It is a beautiful building and a lot of space, but it's not enough. She's have plans. She is going to expand the whole building years to come. There will be an incredible, beautiful museum. She showed me all the drawings, all the paper that is ready to go in and build a new museum in Blokhus. So that is exciting. And she has so many great employees. In her museum, there is a gorgeous shop, and I just went crazy another day. It was so amazing I bought cups, beautiful cups, candle holders. You will see pictures of it. George Jensen had take bits paper and then make it into metal to the steel, and then for the tea lights. And there is her books, beautiful books, Sissel and Bronson, also in Danish. And there is napkins and light, and there's even socks for all generations in paper, made out of recycling paper. Everything what she's selling in her museum shop is recycled paper. T-shirts, purses, name it. It is really fantastic. So to see what we can now today can make out of paper. So yeah, and here very soon we will meet Beat in life. So we will see if we can get that to work. It was so nice to meet Beat and have the conversation with her and her nice staff. It was a very good experience to come to a museum. Here, I am here at the Museum of Paper Cut Art in Blokhus. Blokhus up at the west coast. And I am so happy to make a presentation to you today from this place. We sit here in the museum, beautiful fairy tale stories will be told the entire time. I can introduce you to the fantastic artist Karin Vejle. Karin Vejle have so much to tell us. So we will get started. Karin, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
You are a big part of our tour, live from Denmark, so we will hear so much today. Karin, when are you born? Where were you born?
I was born here in the northern part of Denmark, and then I have lived for 30 years in Norway. And a few years ago, I decided to go back to my roots And I started this museum called Museum for Paper Art. It is the only museum in all the Nordic countries that only shows art made by paper.
And your education, how did you get started on this? What is your education?
Well, I studied Danish and Scandinavian language in the beginning. And then when I moved to Norway, I worked in the National Museum for Music in Trondheim. And after that, I was employed at NRK. It is the national television in Norway, where I was the producer of a lot of programs for 13 years.
Wow. And family?
Yes, I was married to a wonderful Norwegian professor. He actually died in May last year, and we've got 3 kids and 4 grandchildren.
Wow. Isn't that amazing? And have you been traveling around the world? And are you traveling much?
Oh, yes,
before?
I have traveled a lot. I've actually lived in Tasmania, Australia, but I have traveled the last 15 years around the world with my paper cuts, because all these years, while I've been working, I have also made my paper cuts.
How or where do you get your ideas from?
Oh, that is not a problem. I've got so many ideas. So my biggest problem is to select between the ideas and choose what ideas I actually will spend a lot of hours, weeks, months, actually almost year to make.
What inspires you?
Everything inspires me. So when I get, when people ask me to make a special paper cut, of course I will do proper research and then create the paper cut from that. But yeah, well, I never lose ideas, or that is not a problem to me at all.
Do you map out paper cut ideas ahead of time?
Well, ever since I was a little child, I actually started paper cutting when I was 5 years old. And I then developed a technique of my own, because I was so crazy about making paper cuts when I was a kid, that when I laid in bed and was going to sleep, I always figured out what paper cut I would make the next day. So a paper cut is supposed to hang together in one piece of paper. So I actually had to find out how I could create the paper cut so it hang together. So I figured out in my brain what lines, figures, and so on that I could cut together so it would stay together, if you understand what I mean. And that is the technique I'm still using today. So I'm actually memorizing the paper cut. It can take days or weeks to memorize it. And then when I have it totally finished in my head, I will fold the paper once or twice, and then I will start to cut. And I will always start from the frame and then work my way into the paper cut. And I will always cut in 2 layers of paper. So that means when I'm finished with the paper cut, I will always have 2 exactly the same paper cuts. And one I will keep white, and the other one I will paint in a color.
Okay, wow. How long does it take you to make a paper cutting artwork?
Well, if you can see here behind us, there is a very big paper cut. It is an association over Shostakovich's first piano trio, Opus 8, and it took 1 year to make.
How many paper cuttings have you made?
I've made hundreds of paper cuttings, and when I grew up and started my paper cutting career, I actually was a little ashamed about this paper cutting stuff, because you know, when you're a teenager, it's not very smart to do paper cuts. It's almost the same as you know, when you select stamps and stuff like that. So I didn't tell anybody about my paper cutting. So I actually placed them under my carpets, because there they were safe and they were flat and invisible. So I have layers of paper cuttings under my carpets.
Amazing. There was something you came into, you had got illness, you got some problems. Will you talk about that?
Well, 17 years ago, I had a neurological disease, and no, I don't really want to talk much about that, I must say, but it actually changed my life. So I didn't have any strength at all for more than 1 year. And then when I slowly started to get a little bit better, I found out that I had strength enough to paper cut. And then in a way helped me a lot. And then one day, it was a Saturday, I had a visitor from the television, one of my colleagues, who visited me and to see how I worked. And he saw that I had been cutting, because there were a lot of small bits and pieces all over the floor. And he came in and he said, "What are you doing?" And then I told him about my paper cuts. And he was actually so amazed that he took his phone and called the National Museum of Decorative Arts and said, "You have to come and see what Bit has under her carpets." And then they came and they asked me to make my first exhibition. And from then on, the paper cuts has actually made their own life, and I'm just trying to keep up with them. So from that point, I have been traveling around with my paper cuts ever since.
That was the day it changed your life in a way.
Yeah, it changed my life.
You came out and said, "Here I am. That's what I'm actually doing."
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Amazing. Where do you work?
When I do my paper cuts, I'm working at home, and I have a workshop, and it's just a normal table and a normal chair. But what is important is that my table is round, so that the paper cut cannot be damaged. So it will just flow around the table, so to speak. Do you understand what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like a tablecloth. You have.
Yeah, almost like a tablecloth. Yes, because my paper are very big, so I need to have good space for it.
I wonder how you can decide that you have, like here, you have picture, you go in from the side, from the frame side, and then you work you into the middle. As it must be, how can you decide the size of it and all this?
That was what I told you about, that memorizing it. So it's almost like a mathematics.
Yes.
You have to, you know, people think it's very weird that I can do that, but it is not weird. It is just like any other person who is finding out how to manage a task. And then when you have thought through it a lot of times and in a very proper way, you just exactly know what to do, when to do it.
What kind of paper are you using?
It is just ordinary. It's just
Paper.
ordinary paper.
Okay.
And it's my mother's old embroidery scissors that I'm using.
Isn't that something? So what is your workstation like? So that is
Just a table and
a dining table.
Yes. Yeah.
How can you transport your artwork when you bring it out?
Well, I have a very big exhibition that is traveling around the world, and I have specially made crates for it. So they are all mounted between glasses like a sandwich. And so they are, yes, it is between two pieces of glasses. Because what is some of the magic about calligraphic artwork, as it is called, it is that it also makes shadows. So that is why I'm always mounting them between glasses. But if I have to transport it without glass, I will roll it up and then put it into a plastic kind of what do we call that in English? Yeah, what is that called in
Like
English?
a pipe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a plastic pipe.
Yeah. How can you keep your artwork safe and preserved for the future?
Well, I'm in that position now that I have my own museum. So my paper cuts are safe for the future. They are safe between the glasses and they are well preserved in any way.
How do you have you had some more reaction from people? Are the people that have how is it touching people when they see your art? For me, I said it is a fairy tale world to look into your work. I think it's incredible what you can produce when we sit here. It is like a fairy tale. It is incredible.
I have one very nice story I would like to share with you, and that was from my very first exhibition. And I noticed that there was a lady who came over and over and over again for several months. And at a certain point, I asked her, why are you coming again and again and again? And then she said that when she first entered the exhibition, she had just had, she has just been to the doctor, and he had told her that she had cancer. So she was very upset, and she thought that she would go in and look at an exhibition. And when she came in and saw my paper cuts, she instantly understood that in the way that I attacked the paper, so to speak, the way that I worked through all the tiny, tiny details to get a whole picture in the end, that was exactly the same way that she should manage her illness. And I think that is such a wonderful picture. But I'm also very, very fortunate every day in the museum here to meet people that is very touched about what they are seeing. And I actually think that some of the reason for that is that we have all of us tried to make a paper cut. And we know it can be a little bit tricky. And then when we see these big paper cuts, you instantly know that this has taken a lot of time and effort to do. And everything else in the world today is moving so fast. So I think it's very nice, or I think that people react when they see that something has taken time and there is a lot of care behind it. I think it's some of the reason.
So true. What are your plans for the future?
Well, I am so fortunate that I will go to the States, to US later this year. I will have an exhibition in Seattle at the wonderful National Nordic Museum, and it will open on the 22nd of October and until the 31st of January 2022. And after that, my exhibition will go to Minneapolis, to the American Swedish Institute, and the show there will open at the 18th of February, and it will be up until the 10th of July 2022. So be sure to come.
That's amazing. I'm sure there's a lot of people that will come and enjoy it. What have your work meant to you life?
Well, that's a big question. It's a very, very big privilege to have such a way of expressing yourself, and be so fortunate that a lot of people actually want to, that I can share it with a lot of people. And so that is absolutely wonderful, I must say. Often a lot of people are asking me, what do you do when you cut something wrong? And I can tell that I have cut wrong hundreds of times when I was a child and a youngster. But I often say that you can, it's a little bit similar to if you give a child a violin, and that child will practice a lot on the violin. At a certain point, he will not make any falls any longer. And it's exactly the same with the paper and the scissor, that if you practice enough, you will get rather good at it. And so I'm happy to say that I'm not cutting wrong any longer.
That's amazing that you do. And I know that you have something to show us.
Oh yes, you want to know how it started.
Yes.
Yes.
I would like to know how Karin got started on this. What really started the idea? What was it? And here you will hear about it.
Yes. Well, maybe a lot of you out there remember that in Denmark, we are making something called gækkebrev at Easter time. A gækkebrev is kind of a snow crystal that you make at Easter time, but for several hundreds of years here in Denmark, we have made it to something special. And all the Danish kids are still making them. So it's a little piece of paper, and you fold it twice, and then you cut holes in it. But I have then made a little more complicated one. Here is one with some butterflies, and I have also made one with small rabbits because it's Easter time. But then the special thing about a gækkebrev is that there are two things that is connected to it. When you have cut the snow flag or the gækkebrev, you will put a little snowdrop on it as a sign that the spring is coming. And then you will write a poem. And I have here written a very common little poem. It says in Danish, Mit navn, det står med prikker. Pas på, det ikke stikker. And then you can see there are 3 dots underneath. It is instead of my name, so it's a kind of a secret letter. And that is why there are dots under. So Benedikte, if it was you who had made this gækkebrev, there would be 1 dot for each.
Benedikte.
Exactly.
And you have 3 for bit.
Yes. So this is a secret letter. And when you then post this gækkebrev, you post it to someone that you really like a lot. And if he does not guess that it is I who has made the gækkebrev, he's supposed to give me either an Easter egg or a kiss. So that is such a beautiful, poetic little Easter game that we are doing here in Denmark. And this was the way I started to make paper cuts, because I thought this was very funny when I was a kid. And then it developed from gækkebrev, and then the paper cuts just grew bigger and bigger year after year.
Thank you, Karin. I think, isn't we at the end? Please thank you if you have something else you will tell for this.
Maybe you talked about the altarpiece.
Yeah. Karin did a wonderful altarpiece, and that is actually the altarpiece you see on the screen. It is to a church in Trondheim, up in Norway, and I would like that Karin could explain what this wonderful altarpiece have to tell. And when we see the PowerPoint show I have, then you will see how it looks like up in the wonderful church in Trondheim, where it's hanging as the altarpiece. So yes, please, Karin, tell us about it.
Yeah, the altarpiece is cut in 1 big piece of white paper, and it's mounted between 2 pieces of glass. And the frame around the altarpiece is actually the 7 prayers of, what is it called?
Fadervor.
Fadervor in Danish, the prayer of Lord. And then you can see exactly in the middle of the altarpiece there is a heart. And from that heart you can see a lot of string. What would you call that, Benedikte, in English?
In English, it is
For
like
green,
a little, it's like a little, or branches.
But a lot of branches is coming from the heart, and that is very central. So I'll come back to that afterwards. And then you can go just down to the very bottom of the altarpiece, and there you will see the childhood with small children, bigger children, the confirmation and so forth. And then as you move upwards in the paper cut, you will see the adult life and a lot of different interactions between people in every situation that we as humans will come in during our life. And it continues all the way up to the very end of our lives, where the door to heaven is in the very top of the altarpiece. But the central thing in the altarpiece is the heart. And you can see that absolutely doesn't matter wherever you are in your life, you will always be able to reach out one of those branches coming from the heart. You can always reach out and grab the love, because it's of course the love. So doesn't matter where you are, in what situation you are, you can always grab love. But then there is one person that, although he has had every opportunity to grab out and grab on to God and love, he has fallen out of the frame. Can you see very, very low down, out of the frame, there's hanging a tiny little man. But fortunately, if you can see it, there is another that just in the last second reach out and grabs him and get him into the life again. So that is what the whole altarpiece is about. It is that we have hope and we know that wherever we are, we can always grab out for God's love.
Thank you so much.
You're most welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for opening your museum for us. Thank you for all the wonderful words and incredible art. Thank you so much.
It was my pleasure. Thank you very much.
Here we go again, continuing the tour up around Bit Vejle in her beautiful museum, and you saw and you heard how she really worked amazing hard for this gorgeous kind of art. See how she had cut these two hands, and see the people here. There's even a pregnant woman, and there's all kind of human in her cuttings. Her stories, her fairy tales, her life's experience is what she gives to us. It is, she could, and she had to, I think, let it come out as books with every little story. It is also in the books I bought here in English and in Danish, so you can get the story about every piece of her art. And there you see how they can hang together those big, 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 beautiful cuttings and in between glass. So it makes like walls and shades. And here we have from the sculpture blocks, beautiful sculpture too, and the flowers and the greenhouse. And there again a sand sculpture. And here you see different sculptures and all this all the way around, and then flowers. And they all between. When you drive into Blokhus, Bit is on the left side. The garden you'll see soon is on the left side, and the sculpture park. It's all in between 400 or 500 meters, close to each other. And see, there's a completely different. That is the psalm, the hymn we know. Altid frejdig, når du går. Aldrig ræd for mørkets magt. Ever dauntless. Never fear the power of darkness. Kæmp for alt, hvad du har kært. Fight for all that you hold dear. So that is Bit's inspiration. She went down to Løgum Kloster, a refugium down in Sønderjylland. And that week when she was there, she was inspired of the psalms and hymn, and she cut this beautiful Altid frejdig, når du går. And there. That is again the art of immersion, fordybelse. Yeah, and that is the white one was also behind us when we were talking, and I'm sorry you couldn't get us in bigger picture, but that was because we want to have that explanation of the altarpiece, and that was the way we did the taping at the meeting with Bit. Here is the wonderful piece here. It's called Me. A lady, en kvindeskikkelse, sidder sammensunken på en seng. Timer, dage og måneder flyder sammen. A female figure sits collapsed on her bed. Hours, days, months pass by. Isn't that so pretty? Yeah. View in to the museum. Ordet nåde er Bit Vejles yndlingsord og burde præge alle menneskers forhold til hinanden. Grace is love, mindfulness, hope, solidarity, and compassion. Grace is one that is greater than ourselves. It is beautiful. This is one of all these different kinds he is working with, and this is, some people can buy in her shops, hearts, and then they can put the family pictures in the heart in the middle, like a frame. It's a beautiful paper cut frame. Yeah. And there you have the light holders that Georg Jensen have produced now from the cuttings. And you can imagine how beautiful it is when there is a light inside there. And then another enormous, big and pretty cutting. And again, the Copenhagen tree. And for Blokhus, the sculpture park. Pretty in the evening. And now we come to something completely different. An architect, Claus Bonderup. It is his summer house in the dunes in Blokhus. He decided to build the summer house here. You see, it's in there. You walk in, there's a door, and you go in, and the whole summer house is down here. And then he had the view only from those windows. And he has done so much very nice things too. And that is how it looks like in the evening. And also those chairs, I like them. I really feel, wow, it is for me. What I see here is like a lady body sitting there. Can you see that? And then see the different shape and form. And here we come to Anna Just Yndlingshaven, the Hedon's garden. She built up out in Blokhus, stormy weather, sandy soil, Marham, a garden like the Perdas garden. See how beautiful it is around up by Jammerbugten. Even banana plants in the middle there. It is a garden people come. She passed away 4 years ago, and the garden is still growing in honor to her. See how what you can find up at Blokhus. Nobody will, everyone will think, okay, that is Claude Monet's garden in France. No, it is at the west coast in Denmark. So beautiful. And there people can sit and have coffee or tea or something. See how pretty. That is the neighbor, 200 meter from Karin's museum. And then I chose to put in that for, I think you sit in America, I think we have to go to Denmark. And there is some house that is actually for sale. So I thought, oh, it's so pretty, see the thatched roof and the view over the ocean and everything. That is also Blokhus. And the price for the house, $1.1 million. And this is something special, and that's why I chose it. It's a summer camp for kids from Copenhagen. Sandskårens feriekoloni i Blokhus. So kids from Copenhagen can come and have a week in Blokhus. Many groups will come in the summer and stay in this beautiful house. And that is for teachers. Copenhagen teachers can bring their kids over to Blokhus, and that will be the place where they will stay. And here we have how Bit is working on the altarpiece. And here you see the text fadervor, du som er i himlen. This all the way around, and then all here the child she was talking about, and you go up to the church and the confirmation, and you go all the way up. That's how she worked on that altarpiece for Trondheim in Norway. And there you see it again, the Lord's Prayer all the way around, fadervor. And here you see it in the church in Sværs Fordybelsens Church Center in Norway, how they have put it into this gorgeous model, Norwegian design, candle holder, the cross, the altar, the two baptizing and light. And then you have the altar towel hanging here between glass. I think it is so beautiful. And I am sure that many, many more churches will say, oh my, that is a great way to have an altarpiece. And that is the church, Fordybelsens Kirkecenter, the church center in Trondheim, Norway. And there we see it. Jeg klipper, fordi jeg slet ikke kan lade være. I cut paper because I just can't stop myself. Thank you, dear Bit, for everything. Thank you, all of you around the world. I hope you have enjoyed this evening or morning, afternoon, whatever it is, where you are in the world. Thank you so much for this paper cut tour in Denmark.
Thank you, Benedikte and Bit, for the most interesting presentation. It's so beautiful and very inspiring. So we have quite a few questions for you, Benedikte.
Okay.
Are you ready for them?
Yeah, let me see. Let me try how I can do it.
Well, we had quite a few questions on the paper that she uses. I mean,
Yeah.
she said it was just regular paper.
And it is, but I know that she was so happy. For many years ago, she needed paper, and I know that the university, I think up in Oslo, I'm not sure, but I think it was Oslo, they decided, maybe also Norway, I don't know, but there was a university, and she asked them, how can you help me to get nice paper? And they gave her then enormous paper, so she said that she have paper enough for the rest of her life. So that's great. But it is a normal kind of paper. That's what she said. Yeah.
And then we've had a lot of questions about the type of scissors, like the brand of scissors, and where could you purchase scissors like that?
Yeah, man, that is just her mom's old scissor she is using. So, it's just a normal scissor. It's nothing special. You can't believe it, but it's really the truth. Yeah.
But it's funny, when we had a presentation recently in our Danish sister about making gekkebrød. So I made one for my mom recently, and it's actually fun just to try it. I'll encourage everybody just to see what you can do with a piece of paper.
Exactly, and it is so nice that you can just take a paper and you can just form it, and then you fold it, and you fold it, and you can fold it, and so much you will fold, and then you start cutting, and then when you all take it out, then it will be a beautiful design or whatever ideas.
So, then we had questions. People want to go and visit her museum. Is it open now because of COVID?
No.
And
everything is closed right now, and all museums is closed in Denmark, but it will open one day. They are now working on a big, beautiful exhibition, and I show it up here. You will not believe it. Like a beautiful antique chair standing up on a podium, and that is made in paper. And I can't wait to see her exhibition when it's open, but that will probably go months. I don't think we will get it open before May, June. Yeah.
So if people want to find out, how do they find out more information about her museum?
Just go to Blokhus in Denmark, or you can just say Bit Vejle or Karin Bit Vejle or the Paper Cut Museum, and you will find so much. And there's so many beautiful films, small films like the one we showed, so you can see about from her exhibitions and her work.
So when people do visit the museum, how much time should they allow? Should 2 or 3 hours?
They can easily spend an hour or more, and there is a cafe, so you can sit and have nice coffee and tea and nice cups and nice, everything is just so pretty and nice. So easy, an hour to 2 hours.
Then we had a good question. Does she teach other people how to paper cut?
I don't know. I think she is so busy, so but I don't know. I have no idea. I haven't asked. But she is very busy, so I don't think she really have
No.
all the exhibitions she's doing, and she is also working on a big one to Japan. I think that will go. So she is really will be able to travel and have traveled all over the world.
So is each piece a unique piece?
Yes.
And then does she have a family history? Are other people in her family working on paper cut, or her alone?
It's just her alone. Yeah, I think so.
And what were on the altarpiece, what were the top words? Maybe you have already said that, but what did it say at the very top of the altarpiece?
Yeah, now I can't go to back, but it is favorable to make him as the normal Lord's Prayer. That is what it says. It's small. I have to go back to it if you want, but it is in the whole border. Yeah, and you can actually find it. Every one of you that sit out there, go in and you can go www and then the museum. It's here. So you can go www and then Center for Papirkunst.dk or Center for Paper Cut Art.dk. Then you can go in and you will find all this information and inspiration.
And I'm very, very curious, and we've had questions about how she's preserving her art and how long paper can be preserved for.
But I think the museum is like National Museum or other museums. It is completely dark. There's no windows.
Okay.
There's only windows in the cafe and the shops, but the museum itself is just walls, and there's just light from the loft and down, and then they are between those glass, and even the one she had from Hans Christian Andersen, that had even a blanket over, so it's just open when the public come in. So it is daylight that damage things. So I think even it's because it's a dark room, it will keep the paper for many, many years.
So I had a question. Does she work on more than one piece at a time?
I don't think. I haven't asked her about that, but I think she is so focused. That's what I feel. She is so focused. She had told me she is going on and on and on with the music. For example, the inspiration for the music, and she is living like in a bubble where she have this music, and she'll know exactly every step in the music, and that is what gives her the inspiration to cut this and that. And so she is just, I don't think she can have more in her brain than one thing at a time.
Like when she sits down to cut, is she cutting for like an hour or two, or 4 or 5 hours?
Yeah, like only some hours, and then she get very tired. When we had this interview, she just nearly ran out of the house and said, Benedikte, I have to go home and lay down. I am so tired, I have to lay down.
Okay.
So that's what she needs. So she is,
And then we had questions for Bruce too, and Benedikte about as we go forward, like with the recordings, maybe Bruce can, or how long are the recordings going to be available? I mean, is it going to be forever? And yeah, go ahead, Bruce.
Okay. So we have them available, and we'll have them, on our website. But we're also putting together this YouTube channel. So, okay, there we are. So we'll have them on this new YouTube channel, and we'll announce that to everybody and send that out in an email. And we'll make sure that they're available, all of these recordings, for as long as we can, indefinitely, I'm thinking. So we'll get them. And usually I have the last recording available a couple hours after we finish. So this one you should be able to watch this afternoon.
Yeah, because we had a question about the recording from last week. Is that available yet?
Yeah, it's up there. Sometimes you have to do a little bit of a search. I would suggest just going to the NFDA website and going to that page that has Benedikte's schedule. And then there's a recording button next to each of the previous programs. And you just click on that and then you can watch it.
And I have been in there sometimes to show people, ask me, how can we see it? And you can just go live from Denmark with Benedikte, and then you Google that, and then you go straight into your homepage, and it's there. And then you can click on all the earlier shows.
We've received so many nice comments from people where they say that Beat is a stunning discovery. So, I mean, I think it's just marvelous the way we're educating people.
Yeah, that's
but we want to thank everybody for your nice comments. I think those are all the questions I have for today. Oh, here's one more question. Is it possible to buy some of Beat's things at the Nordic Museum's online store?
Absolutely, I'm sure they will. And Beat and I was talking about it also, that Beat, I said, Beat, you have to bring over when you have the exhibitions in America. And actually, I think that the museums and centers over there should have her beautiful cuttings. She have a special system where it's all hanging, so you can have every shops, for example, museum shops, center shops, not West Danish Foundation, blah, 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 what's called, have been, they can have them, you can then buy them. And I actually came up with the idea that I thought she should do a cutting for example, for our museum in Elkhorn. She could do a beautiful Christmas card, for example, for someone. So we really should use Beat's amazing art, and she will be happy. So she can easily bring it over to when they are the exhibition, and you can also order it who you are in America. So.
I saw Lisa writes that, Lisa Tuftemark, these things are available now at the Nordic Museum online store, which is www.nnmstore.org. So nnmstore.org.
Yes.
Thank you. So I think that's all for this week, as far as I can see. Good. And I want to thank everyone for joining us. We had a really wonderful turnout again. And please note that the webinar link that you received will be the same link that we use for our next sessions. Our next two presentations will be Tuesday, March 30th and Tuesday, April 6th at 11 a.m. Chicago time, where we will be visiting Skagens Museum in Denmark, and we're going to learn about the beautiful and outstanding work of the famous Danish painters P.S. Krøyer and Marie Krøyer on March 30th, and Michael Anker and Anna Anker on April 6th. So please join us, share the news with your family and friends, and thank you on behalf of the NFDA, the Danish pioneer, Bruce, Benedikte, and myself. Stay safe and well, everyone, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.